Hey guys, what's up? It's Clay from the Hills Maniacs, and today I'm going to be answering the question, are there inconsistencies in Jurassic Park? So I wanted to do this because I recently rewatched Jurassic Park for another video, and I noticed a lot of inconsistencies or flaws or just things that were never explained in the movie that I mean, they may not have been important things, but there's still things that it's like, why'd you mention it if you weren't gonna go through with describing how it works or whatever. So and I'm gonna start doing this with a lot of other movies, as I rewatch movies or watch movies for the first time. I'm gonna go through and kind of different things I find that don't make sense in these movies. And so I found about 7 roughly. Some of them might kind of go together, but in Jurassic Park. So the first one I got is the science behind the entire thing. I know it's a movie and it's fake, but for the purposes of these videos, we'll count things like this. If you know anything about Jurassic Park, or if you know anything about science, DNA has a half-life of 521 years, meaning after 521 years, half of that DNA will be completely gone. And so even if it's the full DNA strand of that, that organism, it would still be 1,042 years, something like that. And so it doesn't make sense that an extinct animal from millions of years ago would be able to still have DNA in existence, even if it is in a mosquito trapped in amber and then found and extracted, which also isn't possible. But the DNA would have been gone, so there was no possible way for them to get dino DNA from anything, so they would have had to create the DNA itself. And we know they did alter the DNA with, fill in the gap with reptile DNA or whatever, but they wouldn't have had any DNA to begin with. So that's a major flaw in the movie. And I know, again, it's a movie, it's fake, I get it, but it's still the biggest flaw I think I found in Jurassic Park. Next thing that didn't really make sense was if you've seen the movie, you'll remember the scene where there was a sick Triceratops, and Dr. Sattler, played by Laura Dern, she ends up trying to figure out what makes the Triceratops sick. And I get they're trying to show that the park is falling apart, things are happening to make the park seem like it shouldn't open. But they included this scene in there and then never explained what made the Triceratops sick. And I know it's not that big a deal, and it probably would have taken up a lot more time in the movie, but the way I look at it, it's in a different edition of the movie than what I have. I don't understand why they had shown this other than to show the park's failures. And really, you had so many other things to do in this movie that you really didn't need this scene, because it was kind of pointless, but at the same time it made sense for why Ellie was separated from Dr. Grant and Ian Malcolm and the rest of the people, because she ended up staying behind with the Triceratops for a little bit. But it's still, if you're gonna have a sick Triceratops, at least tell us why it was sick. So they never explained that, and it's a real big, again, it's not an important detail that they missed, but it's still something that, why leave it, why have it in the movie at all if you're not going to follow up with it? The next one is, there's a scene in the movie where the systems shut down, in Jurassic Park, and the cars that the kids and Dr. Grant and all them are in end up stopping right outside the T-Rex paddock, or the big enclosure that the T-Rex is in. And when they do, the fences go out because the one guy shut everything off. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil what happens completely, so I won't tell you the main part of it, but the T-Rex escapes and ends up, attacking the cars and kills a guy, and then it starts attacking one car that the children are in, the grandkids of John Hammond, and the T-Rex pushes the car back into the T-Rex enclosure, and there's all of a sudden a cliff. And I get it was for suspense or whatever, to make the movie more so that they'd have to like run through the park to get back to the beginning, or back to the main gate. But what never made sense was, where did the big cliff come from? Because we just saw the T-Rex walk out of there and it was perfectly flat. And if it wasn't perfectly flat, then that means the T-Rex jumped and we didn't see the T-Rex jump. I mean, I don't know where the big dip in the thing came from, but it was there all of a sudden. And I know a lot of people have mentioned this, like, why was that there other than for storyline purposes? But if you're going to have something like that be in the movie, then have it be consistent. Have it show to where the T-Rex comes out, to where it had to jump over something to get out, or have like a little area where it could walk, but show it walk over the thing, if you're going to have something like that. But I think it was just a major flaw in the movie, and it really didn't make sense. And that's one thing that like always sticks in my head. When I watch Jurassic Park, that's one thing I remember is like, where did this big cliff come from in the T-Rex paddock? So the next thing I want to move on to is, right after this scene, Ellie Sattler comes back and from the sick Triceratops, and she ends up finding the cliff in the T-Rex paddock because she sees the car went over the cliff, and in the next scene she's down there looking at the car. Well, how did she get down? Because we just saw there was a big cliff in the T-Rex paddock, and how did she like know where they are? But then also in the next scene she's back up on top from where she just came from. So is there a ladder? Is there a rope? Is there just a hill that she climbed up? Because we saw Dr. Grant and the Hammond's grandkids get pushed over. They had to hold on to a rope and then kind of scale down the thing because it was just a big wall. And it doesn't make sense that she's just like down there to find the car, and then in the next scene she's back up top. Like, how can she just climb walls? Is she Spider-Man? Like, what is going on? These are just little inconsistencies that don't make sense in the movie, and I know it's an older movie, and I know it's just a movie, so it doesn't make sense, but these are just things that, like, they should have paid better attention to when they were making this movie. Nothing against Steven Spielberg, because he's got a lot of great movies, and I do still love Jurassic Park, don't get me wrong. But that just didn't make sense. Next, along these same lines in this same part of the movie, I found a lot of inconsistencies in this part of the movie. There was when Ellie gets back up from being down in the T-Rex paddock, the T-Rex comes back from wherever it was in the woods, and Ian Malcolm, who was injured the first time the T-Rex broke out, is in the back of a car, and then Ellie Sattler comes running back up, being chased by the T-Rex with the other guy. And so they take off, and they start driving, and the T-Rex follows them, and then all of a sudden it turns and goes somewhere else. Now my question is, if Ellie Sattler, I know she's a paleobotanist, which means she studies older, maybe extinct, plants and stuff like that. So, I mean, she studies dinosaurs. She's been with Dr. Grant for how many years digging up dinosaur bones, and the guy that they're with works at Jurassic Park. He maintains the animals. So what got me was they should know the behavior of T-Rex. You got all these people that study dinosaurs and know what dinosaurs do and how they behave, and nobody knows that if you're near a T-Rex to just freeze because it can't see you if you're not moving. I mean, Alan Grant said it earlier in the movie to Ian Malcolm. He said, "Don't move." When the T-Rex broke out, he said, "Don't move. It can't see you if you don't move." And so the fact that Alan Grant told Malcolm that, and then Malcolm still is just like, "Oh, let's just drive away." Like, you could have just stopped. If you wouldn't have moved in the first place, the T-Rex wouldn't have noticed you. So why didn't you just sit still? If all of you know this about T-Rexes, why wouldn't you just sit still? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you keep moving when you know that its vision is based on movement? I don't understand this. And why were there so many flaws in this part? The next thing that didn't make any sense was they say, raptors are smart and they they learn by watching. But how did they learn to open doors? Like, I get they may have seen when the people were running, they saw them push on the handle and the door opened. Okay, but still, I mean, seriously, a dinosaur opening a door? That's like, and they even say unless raptors have learned to open doors in the movie, like as a, it's just a thing saying why they were safe, but then they end up opening doors, and it just doesn't make sense. It's like, why, we see later on raptors just like jumping through windows and all this other stuff. Why do they need to worry about opening doors? But then when the kids are in the kitchen, you see the T-Rex claw come up and push on the door handle and the door opens. Like, how did they learn to open doors? They're raptors. They're not just, it's not going to be in their natural instinct like hunting or eating. This is something they would have had to learn over a period of time. How many people did they see open a door at one point in their life to know how to open a door? Unless somebody purposely trained them to open a door. In which case, that's a whole nother thing, like a whole nother theory video, but it doesn't make sense. The last one I want to cover here real quick, and again, not a big deal, but throughout the movie, every time the T-Rex would be near, we would see water on the ground, shake. You'd see the little puddle, like the ripples in the water, or the glass of water on the dashboard in the car. The water shook, or whatever. And you would always hear the T-Rex coming because the ground would shake and all this other stuff. But then at the end, when they're fighting against the raptors, the T-Rex just comes walking in. Did nobody hear this ginormous T-Rex that shakes the ground when he walks come walking into the building? Nobody heard it. I mean, they could play it off like, oh, they were preoccupied with the raptors, they weren't even paying attention. But still, you figure the raptors would hear the T-Rex coming and run away, right? Because like the raptors aren't going to want to take on a T-Rex unless they do want to take on a T-Rex. But even still, somebody should have heard the T-Rex coming. Like, they were all surprised when the T-Rex come busting in at the end of the movie. Did nobody hear this earth-shaking creature come walking into the visitor center in Jurassic Park? Anyways, so this was just a couple, inconsistencies or flaws I found in Jurassic Park, and I hope I did answer the question. And, well, I know I did answer the question in the title of this video. Yes, there are inconsistencies in Jurassic Park, and I know it was an older movie, and again, I still love the movie, love most of the movies in the franchise, and Steven Spielberg, so I have nothing against any of these, and yes, I know it was a movie, and a lot of this stuff really wasn't that important for the movie, but I thought it would just be fun to just kind of see, what kind of flaws we see in these movies. And so I was thinking about doing the rest of the Jurassic Park franchise for this. I could do Star Wars, Harry Potter, just any movie, really. It doesn't even have to be a franchise. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. What movies or franchises you want to see inconsistencies done for. I figured I'd try and start something new on this channel. So stay tuned for what else we got coming up, and subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment on what else you want to see, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.